Hi, I'm Dawn, and this is where Shabby meets bling. Halloween is over, so now it is all about Christmas.
Speaking of Christmas, I have printed my original R-Cube design on a tee. It is a cotton poly blend and made right here in the USA. This tee would be great for you or a gift for anyone who thrifts, upcycles, repurposes, or crafts. Visit my Etsy shop today. Merry Christmas. You are watching Christmas Palooza. I'd love to thank our host, Annie, from Crafting with Indie Annie Jones. You're going to find the links to her channel and the playlist in the description box below. Oh, one day I was out thrifting. I could write a song. And I came across a booth, actually two booths, where everything was 75% off. And in this booth in particular, they had some light fixtures, which I already took down to the desk because I knew I was getting them. In this booth, I found this vintage light fixture. It's a ceiling light fixture, and she is old. And when I saw her, I only saw one thing. Okay, let's be honest. I saw two things. I saw a light fixture, and more important, I saw a Christmas bell. Here are some more of the goodies that were in that booth. And here's the second booth at 75% off. And I'm telling you, you have to look close. Some things just stand out to you, but look carefully when you're thrifting because you can find some amazing things. What I do is I look for shapes, not necessarily what something is. I look for shapes that could be something else, and I look for future holidays and events. Enough of that. Let's get back to our project. I have to tell you, when I saw this, I loved the shape. Absolutely loved the shape. And considering it ended up being $2.25 and Christmas was coming up, oh, what can you say? I had to have it. So, step one, disassemble. We have to make this thing not look like a light anymore. Oh, she's a beaut. She would have been pretty hanging in my entry, but she has other plans. She's going to become a Christmas bell. So I need to get the chain off, and these old fixtures, they were meant to last. And it was a fight to get this thing disassembled, but I did. I got it done. So already you can see how it's looking more like a bell. Now her innards, those innards, they need to be removed. And this was so easy. I mean, no rusting, no nothing. This thing just came apart like a dream, and now you can really see the bell shape. Do you see? Do you see the bell shape? Because I sure do. I will keep all of the brass components. Now, the wiring has copper in it, so if you're like me, you're thrifty, and you are gonna take this to salvage, it's copper wire. Keep it all. That copper is a money. We have to get this thing clean because I am not painting this, believe it or not. There is no painting in this project. Wah, wah. Well, that's good and bad. The good part is this thing is so pretty as is, and it just screams old world Christmas. I want to keep this whole thing intact as best I can. So instead of removing those little screws, which would leave holes, I am screwing them in. So they just look like this beautiful trim at the bottom was riveted in place. Then I just continue to clean until I get her to the point where she is ready to be glued together. I am using my messed up tube of B7000 to glue this together. 3-in-1 glue, I've had issues when I go metal to metal or metal to glass or anything like that. So I'm resorting to my favorite glue, which is B7000, but it's sticky and it's messy and it's really difficult to get out. And I happened to puncture a hole in it when I was trying to do it. But I am going to use what I can, and I am squeezing out some B7000, and I will glue together the top and the bottom of what now is my Christmas bell. Then I'll set it aside and let it dry. Well, a bell isn't a bell without a ding-a-ling. I think they're actually called clappers, but I like ding-a-ling. And my ding-a-ling is going to be made from a sinker, a fishing component, which you can get at any department store, any Walmart, or sporting goods store, whatever, and they're very inexpensive, and I know I'll use these for something else down the road, but my ding-a-ling is going to get a couple coats of this metallic gold so it blends nicely with my Christmas bell. My ding-a-ling, aka clapper, is dry, and now I am feeding it onto some twine, some really, really pretty. It's that natural jute color and a really kind of deep rustic-y vintage red. Love, love, love. After it is threaded, I will pull a good amount of the length through and I will knot it right above the sinker. I will also knot it up a little bit higher so it doesn't come through the top of my bell. I will also be using a paper grommet and it will go on top of the upper knot. This will ensure that it stays in the bottom part of my bell where it needs to be to make the little ding-dong sound. I have to make sure that the part of the twine that is inside my bell isn't too long or the sinker won't hit the sides of the bell to make that sound. So I am making sure by holding it next to my bell, and that way I can get that upper knot at the appropriate spot, and then I will just slide that paper grommet down on top of it. Now that my bell is dry and is one piece, I'm taking my twine and I'm going to clamp it with my little tool, and I'm going to feed that twine right up through the center. Once the twine is through, I will tie the ends of it together temporarily until I decorate the top of my bell, because yes, I'm going decorator. She doesn't get paint, but she gets some other pretties. I will be decorating her at the base of the handle. I'll be using these beautiful evergreen, which came from Hobby Lobby, 50% off, and these amazing pine cones. These things I picked up while on a trip. Don't they look like bells? And I'll use more of this twine. In one of my mini buckets of greenery, I pulled out one of these garlands, and I'm going to be using the leaves off of this garland and some of these red berries. I removed the components I think I will need, and now I'm going to give them a little pizzazz, a little zip, because everything is kind of dull at this point. Even the bell is not shiny. So I'm gonna take my little pine cones, which really do look like little jingle bells. They're so cute. And I am going to use some of that gold that we used on the ding-a-ling clapper. And I'm going to get everything I'm not like gonna drench these things. They're just gonna get a little bit of a sheen, a little bit of a sparkle. So I will coat all of my little red berries, all of my leaves, and all of my little pine cones with this gorgeous metallic gold. Oh wow, thrifting! I found this butter roller. This is actually a butter roller to make imprints in butter, evidently. I never knew there was such a thing, but I picked it up for $4, and I'm going to use it in my clay to make impressions in clay. I am using my flower clay. I love, love, love this stuff. I used it on Gus the Ghost Catcher to see what I made there with this flower clay. You can check out that video. I'll stick the link in the description box. But I have kneaded my clay. I formed it into a long band, and then I am going to be rolling it out, because what I am going to try to make here is the kind of like the old leathery belt that you would find on sleigh bells, with the little bells attached to it. So I am just making a nice long expanse of my clay. I put a little bit of cornstarch on it and I roll it out. So it needs to be straight as possible. I don't have much room to work with. My mat is not big enough, but I'm doing the best I can, and I'm rolling myself a nice long strip. And then I will take my butter roller and roll it right on from the bottom all the way to the top. I have to say I was pretty impressed with the design that it left. I mean, take a look at that. Really dimensional, really pretty. And for my first effort, not too bad. It's a little bit wonky, but I'm gonna make a second strip just because this was practice. So practice doesn't always make perfect, but sometimes it makes better. So time 2, let's see how it goes. And I'm pretty excited about this because I love the looks of it. My clay is dry to the point where I can handle it. It is still pliable. It is amazing how long this flour clay stays pliable, which I think is the reason I like it so much. But I have to trim it. So I am just drawing a vague line because you can see as it dries, it's harder to see the imprint that we made with the butter roller. So I don't make a mistake. I am drawing a line on the end of my pattern. Now I'm just using my handy dandy all-purpose shears to trim the edges so that we've got a nice clean edge on both sides. I love working with this clay. I am also using it in a project for a video that will come out tomorrow in this collab. So make sure you ring the bell so you get a notification of when that premieres tomorrow night. I have both sides of both strips trimmed up, and now I am just dusting off with my paintbrush the cornstarch that's left over because we're gonna paint these. I get to paint, yay! And you'll notice I am stretching this a little bit because it's not perfectly straight, but it's still pliable. So I can straighten it by gently pulling on it in certain areas that seem to be not so straight. Very handy, very handy. I am using a Waverly chalk paint, this is cashew, to paint my strips of faux leather. Our design is really popping with that paint. I will paint the front and the back of both these pieces, but I am only making one sleigh bell. So I have the other strip for another project. Both the front and the back will get 2 coats each to make sure I get every bit of it covered. In between coats, I set these aside to dry, and I figure out how I'm going to hang my little sleigh bells. I'm going to be using an old belt. I pick up old belts while I'm thrifting, both leather, faux leather, and canvas, because you never know what you're going to use the belts for. I've used them for many, many things, and you never know what you're going to want to use the belt buckle itself for. And I've used those for many things. So step 1 is to get the buckle off of the belt. Easier said than done. This has like 3 different sew lines on it, and my seam ripper is doing its best. I don't know who's manipulating that seam ripper, but she needs to do a better job. So we need to get the belt buckle free, and then we can go from there. Now for the sleigh bell part, the actual bells. Now these beauties I rusted naturally, and to see how I did that, I'll leave the link to that video in the description box. Super easy. I need to rust some more things as well, but I'm going to be using 5 of these big, beautiful rusted bells on my faux leather. And the first thing I need to do is just lay them out to see how far apart I might want them. Once I'm sure of exactly where I want them, I am going to be a little more detail oriented here, and I am going to measure them out. With my tape measure, I start from the top and the bottom, and then I find my middle mark for that 3rd middle bell. And once I have them all figured out exactly where I want them, then I'm going to drill a hole, because these will get wired onto the faux leather. You probably could use any sharp object to put the hole in through the faux leather, but I don't want to take a chance on ripping it, so that's why I am using my drill. Once my holes are all drilled, I am going to be gluing on the little belt buckle. You can see it at the top right there. I used hot glue. And now I am giving it the page treatment, a little page. I am covering front and back and sides with a matte Moje. This is going to give my next step an extra little a look that you don't get if you don't use the Mod Podge. My Mod Podge is dry, and now I'm going to add some brown antiquing wax to this to really make it look like leather, and that's what the Mod Podge was for. The layer of Mod Podge keeps the antique wax on the surface. It doesn't soak down into the clay. And if it wasn't there, it would go right into the paint, which would give it a great look, but a different look. And this way it really does, when I'm done, it will look and feel like a piece of old leather. Once I have my leather totally covered in the wax, I will sit back and let it dry. I will do the sides and the back, and then I will attach those beautifully rusted bells. My sleigh bells will be going on to this Christmas wreath that I got for a song last year after Christmas sales shopping, and I will be enhancing this wreath with some of my picks. This will give my wreath some variety with some pine cones and different types of evergreen.
My projects are all complete, so now we just need to take a look.
Let's start with what once was a lump of clay, flour clay, and now is a fabulous faux strip for my sleigh bells. Look at that dimension. That butter roller, oh wow, if I ever see those again, I am grabbing them. And my rusty bells, legitimately rusty, old. They're old. I have aged them prematurely. But this sleigh bell belt feels real, looks real, like real leather. I placed mine temporarily in this wreath. This very plain wreath. I wanted to highlight my sleigh bells. You can place them anywhere. You can display them with a bow, with no ornamentation at all, on a door, on the back of a chair. It is so versatile, this beautiful little decor accent piece. Now for our antique light fixture turned into a Christmas bell. I am totally in love with this bell, and it does really ring. It really does ring, and it really looks like a bell. No more light fixture, just this beautiful piece of decor for Christmas. Old school Christmas. Check out the pine cones. Tell me those don't look like little jingle bells. Absolutely love it. I decorated this little item all the way around, of course, because you never know where you're going to sit it. If it's sitting on a coffee table, people are going to see it from all directions. You can see the very light dusting of that beautiful gold on my berries, on my leaves, and on those pine cones. My twine made into a bow, and a gorgeous tassel made out of that same twine. Thanks again to Annie from Crafting with Annie Jones for hosting this Christmas Palooza. You're going to find the link to her channel as well as this amazing playlist with a lot of other creators in my description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with your family and friends and anyone that loves thrifting, Christmas, and beautiful decor. You can follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to check out my shop on Etsy. Leave me a comment. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Ring the bell for notifications of all my upcoming videos. Don't forget to subscribe. It's a great way to support my channel. But for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.